I'm Steve Wiggins, and this is the Groundworks Ministries podcast. Today we're reading from the book of Genesis, chapter 45, so let's focus on verses 7 and 8. God sent me ahead of you to establish you as a remnant within the land and to keep you alive by a great deliverance. Therefore, it was not you who sent me here, but God. He has made me a father to Pharaoh, Lord of his entire household, and ruler over the land of Egypt. Genesis 45, verses 7 and 8. Well, with great generosity, Joseph reassures his brothers by pointing out God's purpose and God's plan, which has overruled and overshadowed their crime against him. You see, this event foreshadows Jesus' first statement from the cross. We find that in Luke 23, verse 34. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Was it a crime for Jacob's brothers to abuse and to sell him into slavery? Yes. And did they suffer consequences for their sin? Of course they did. But was their consequence as great as it should have been? Were it reviewed by an impartial judge? No. Here we see perhaps the greatest similarity between Joseph and Jesus. Biblically, this combination of grace and mercy was completely without precedence until Joseph revealed his intentions to his brothers. Here was a man who had undergone severe physical, social, emotional, and financial hardships, completely undeserved, and yet Joseph's response was formulated solely out of his belief in God's promise. Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane prayed, "Not my will, but yours be done." Jesus had faith that the grave could not hold down those to whom the Lord would summon, "Arise." It was his faith in God's word and in his character which allowed the Messiah to endure the cross, free of any entanglements this world might otherwise hold. Jesus held no malice that would compel him to keep souvenirs of hate or grudges toward those who crucified him. Who could be offended by so great a love shown toward us? I can identify with Joseph's brothers more than I can identify with Joseph, and that I once had difficulty coping with the reality that I was really forgiven. Have you ever been there? As God told Abraham to leave his father's house and go to the place that he would show him, so also Joseph told his brothers, leave everything in Canaan to quickly receive the fullness of their deliverance. Likewise, Jesus charges all who would follow him to leave everything and follow me. Have you partially followed Jesus? That is, have you enjoyed a proximity to him without actually committing to know him in a saving way? Well, until you do so, you're not fully delivered. And nobody wants to be left outside of salvation. Consider Jesus' words in Matthew chapter 7, verses 21 through 27. Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, shall enter the kingdom of heaven, but he who does the will of my Father in heaven. Many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in your name, cast out demons in your name, and done many wonders in your name? And then I will declare to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you who practice lawlessness. Therefore, whoever hears these sayings of mine and does them, I will liken him to a wise man who built his house on the rock, and the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and they beat on that house, and it did not fall, for it was founded on the rock. But everyone who hears these sayings of mine and does not do them will be like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat on that house, and it fell. And great was its fall. Matthew chapter 7, verses 21 through 27. If you're not confident that you have received salvation, I urge you to watch the gift video on our website. I'm Steve Wiggins, and this is the Groundworks Ministries podcast. Check us out at groundworksministries.com.